Hi everybody, welcome back. We are going to continue with our Design With Me series, and today, or in this video, we are going to make the pages. If you remember, we cut these out in the last video, and we cut them 11 by 9. And what you want to do is put them in your scoreboard, and you're going to score, let me see if I can angle this, hope you can see it. You're going to score in half and in half. So we're going to score, put it the 11-inch side, you're going to score at 5.5. Then you're going to rotate and score at 4.5, because this is 9. Half of 9 is 4.5. Okay, now we want our finished pages to be 4.5 by 5.5, and that happens to be the score measure. And the reason for that is when you're making this style of page, you're going to cut the paper twice the size of the finished page. So in other words, if you want a 2 by 4 page, you're going to cut your paper 4 by 8. In this case, we wanted 4.5 by 5.5, so we have a 9 by 11. All right, so score that. And this to the side, and I'm going to show you how to fold it. Now, you want to be, we're going to score this long side first. I like the bump up. You need to be very careful. You can't assume that your paper trimmer and your scoreboard match exactly in measurement. So when you fold this, you need to make sure, even though you already have a score mark, is just sort of gently bring it up. Don't fold that score just yet. And match up, pardon my head if I get in the image. You want to match that corner really well. And pinch it. You could use a paper clip or a what do you call it, a clothespin if you've got one. And just make sure that those corners are nicely done. And usually what I will do is do the first corner, burnish that, and you can see it's not quite a match to my score line. And then go down here, match this one. Excuse me, the trash is being picked up. Today is my trash day. Okay, so then just double check that it hasn't moved on you. Make sure all your corners look good. And then burnish. Okay, something in there. And then double check again. If they're off like a hair, that's fine, but you don't want them off by much. All right, then you're going to repeat that process. You know, your scoreboard and your paper trimmer are likely not made by the same manufacturer. They're not made as precision scientific instruments, so they're not necessarily perfect. So do your best, and you're not perfect. Neither am I. We might not have scored it right. So just do your best to make sure your corners match nicely, okay? And I've already done the other two. Okay. Now, to form the page, here's our template that we made, remember? We are going to cut along one of those score lines, the longer score line, not the shorter one, but the longer one, okay? You could do this in your paper trimmer. You could do it with scissors. I think I'm not great with my paper trimmer, but let's see if we can do that. I can't use my bigger paper trimmer for this because there's no way on that one that I use to stop accurately at a specific point. So with this, we know that this is 4.5 because that's where we scored it. Right, so if we put it at the 4.5 mark and then bring the blade down, I find it easier to start in the right place than stop in the right place. And, pardon my head, hang on. Oops. Hang on. I'm just going to move this to where I can see it because I can't really see it. You can see why I usually use scissors. I think that's pretty good. There we go. See, I don't like this trimmer. It tears up the paper a little bit. That's all right. I think I went too far. Did I? Maybe not. Okay. Let's see. I may do the other two with scissors. Just do not like using a trimmer for this, but just if you want to, you can. All right, so there's the cut. I'm going to fold it like this, fold that one there, and fold that one there. See that? So again, let's do it this way again. These are the cut ones. Put the cut ones over the non-cut ones, and then fold so that these tabs are to the outside. Okay, you don't want to fold it so they're on the inside. Fold to the outside. You almost can't, so it's kind of easy. And you're going to end up with a fold on the top. So you got a page, a fold, a page. It's open on the bottom, but that's okay. We're going to close that up. And once that's closed up, you have an opening here that's going to go over your spine, your binding. Okay? You repeat that with your other two pages, and I am going to use my scissors because I find using the paper trimmer traumatic. Okay, there's that. Okay, and burnish. Okay. Okay, so there are our 3 pages. Now, we have 2 options for closing the inside. So let me see where we're at. Okay, so again, let's open that. This is folded, but this is open and we need this closed. There are 2 ways to do it, and I'm going to show you them both. The first way is you're going to cut a 1-inch strip, and you should have some 1-inch strips left from cutting down your 12-inch paper to 11. And I'm just going to trim it. Doesn't matter. You can see I've trimmed it to be about 1/4 inch, give or take, shorter than the page. You can make it almost match. I just feel more comfortable with a little bit of space. You can score this if you want. It's not a big deal. I'm just folding it in half. I don't know if you can see. I am just folding this strip in half and burnish it down. Okay, just like that. Then we are going to take, so here's our folded edge, here's our cut edge. Open it up. This is going to go right down here, centered on this opening. You can use score tape, you can use glue, and then this folds over and is glued to that, and you end up closing the bottom edge. And I'm going to use art glitter glue and put that in. All right. And the fold goes to the outside. The fold should be along this edge. Can you see that? Okay, just lift it up, make sure it's not hanging over at all. It's not. Finish that down. I don't know what I did with my baby wipe. I don't see it. I have to get another one. Hang on. Don't mind me reaching. Okay, so there is that. If it's in slightly from the end, like mine is, edge, that's fine. Over is not good. All right, and then we're going to put some glue. Whoops, right off the edge. Okay, and then we're just going to close that over and encase that in the opening. Burnish it well. Make sure you don't have any glue seeping. All right, so now what we have is a folded edge here. We have our, this isn't dry yet, but that'll dry clear. We have our piece with the gusset. The reason we're using a gusset and not just gluing it is to give us a full amount of opening here to put things in. And then this end is going to go on the spine. All right, and I'm just want to make sure that glues. And I'm just going to tack. It looks like I need a little more glue right there. Okay, just hold that. And you want to do this, well, you have to decide because I'm going to show you another method. I'm going to do this on, let me think. The last book I made, I did this on only one of the 3 pages, and I used the other method on the other 2 pages. I kind of liked that, so I think I'm probably going to do the same. So use this method that I just showed you just once. Okay, let's set that aside, and I'm going to show you how to do the other one. Now with the other one, you're going to end up, okay, so you've got the same situation going on with the fold. The other one you end up with a pocket down here. So let's see, how high a pocket do we want? These are not big pages. Do I just want like a 1.5 inch pocket? That leaves me quite a bit of room here. Looks a little shallow though. Maybe 1 3/4 inch pocket. No, I think I'm going to go with the 1.5. So the reason we need to know that is the piece of paper that we're going to cut is going to be double the height of this pocket. So I want a 1.5 inch pocket. So I'm going to cut a 3 inch piece of paper by the width of the page, which is 5.5 minus 1/8. I always like to take a little bit off, but we can trim it later. So let's just assume 5.5, and then you want to add 1 inch. So 6.5, all right? So let's go ahead and cut a piece 3 by 6.5. Okay, and then I'm going to use my little scoreboard. And you're going to put the longer side in your scoreboard. And you are going to score a 1/2 inch at this end. Turn around, score it a 1/2 inch at this end, and then you're going to put the 3 inch side and score it at 1.5. Okay. We're going to need 2 of these. All right. So now let us fold. You don't have to be as fussy about checking to make sure this folds and matches because it's not going to be seen on both sides at the same time. Okay. So in other words, if one pocket is just a hair higher, that's okay. So then you fold it in half. You're going to take at the score mark and just trim a little angle off. Don't go past the score mark. And then you're going to do the same at the top. Okay. Just like that. All right, let's trim, fold these tabs in. Fold the tabs in. And then we're going to take our page. Here's, okay, so I'm going to open these out of the way. You've got a fold here and your opening is here. Dry fit this before you glue it, because if it's too big, now's the time to fix it. Fit it in here, and you want to make sure that it doesn't go so far into this fold that it's hard to fold the page over, especially if there's something in the pocket. And I feel like I would like it to be just a little bit further out, and that's going to make it hang over. So what I'm going to do is put it back in my scoreboard and just take one end and score another 1/8 inch. So it's at 5/8 instead of a 1/2. Fold it over, garnish it, open it up, and then retrim these to the new score mark. And then if you want, you can go ahead and trim off the little extra bits. Okay. So now let's see how that fits. I'm going to line it up to the outer edge of the page, and there. I've got almost a full eighth here. If you don't like that, by all means, go ahead and make it, you know, a little bit smaller. And what I just did is brought it in a little bit from the edge, not too much. It's not going to be very visible at all, but this makes this page much easier to flap, especially once I've got some bulk in here. All right, so now you need 2 of those, okay? I'm going to show you. Let me just get this one in. And I always find this just a little bit tricky. You can use score tape. If you use score tape, you can get it off again. If you use the art glitter glue, it's down for good. So up to you if you feel whichever. I like to use the art glitter glue. It grabs on in a hurry, but it doesn't grab on as fast as the score tape, so it does give me a second to play with it. Just a second. All right. So I'm going to lay this pocket piece down. Again, I've got my openings here, and then I'm going to lay this over it. All right, then turn it over. Just, you've got a second to fiddle with it. Just make sure it's where you want it, and that you can fold it over. Okay, and I can. And then I'm just going to burnish that down, burnish the bottom. There we go, a nice curve. There we go. And then all we have to do on this side is put the glue and fold it over. Now you can do all 3 pages like this so they all have a pocket, or you could do all 3 the way we did the other one that just has the little gusset inside, so there's no pocket. Or you can do, you know, 2 of one and 1 of the other like we did, and it doesn't matter which. That's what you know, which you choose. I chose to do 2 with the pocket and 1 with the gusset. You could do 2 gusset and 1 pocket. This is a wet baby wipe. I should be using a dry one, but I don't have a dry one handy because I've lost mine. I don't know what to do with it. Okay. Now we have a fold on the top. It's closed on the side where it's going to go on the spine. It's got a pocket here and a pocket here and a flap, and it'll have a side pocket insert. Okay? All right, so then we have this last one, which I'm going to make another pocket for, and then I'll be right back. All right, so we have all 3 of our pages done. So the next thing we have to design is our spine. And I like the spine to be a little bit shorter than the page. These are 4.5-inch pages. So I'm going to make a 4 1/4-inch tall spine. That leaves me just 1/8 of an inch top and bottom, make it easy to get the pages on. So I know that I need a page this way, or a piece, that is 4 1/8 inches. This is not the spine, the binding. So now we need to figure out how wide our binding is going to be. So we know that we have 3 pages, okay? So I don't think I need to use the ruler for this. We want 3/8 inch gussets, so that's 3/8 of an inch. And then I like a 1/2 inch tall, what I call a fin. So you got a 1/2 inch up and a 1/2 inch down, so that's 1 inch. Then you need another 3/8. Then you need another 1/2 inch up, 1/2 inch down for another inch. We need 3/8. And then 1/2 inch up, 1/2 inch down for an inch, and then 3/8. This is the bare minimum. You could make these longer, okay? So if you take these 2, you have 6/8, and these 2 are 6/8, right? So it's 12/8. And what that is, 6/8 is 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 and 3/4 is 1.5 inches. We have 1.5 inches plus 1 inch for this fin, 1 inch for this fin, and 1 inch for this fin. So these are 3 inches. So that's 4.5 inches. Okay, does that make sense? So the bare minimum that you're going to need is 4.5 inches. Now, if you take this, now remember these fins when they're done are going to be right up, you won't have any length here. So what you're going to have is here and here only showing. So that's the 1.5 inches. This 1.5 inches is the only amount that's going to be showing. And where's our book? We made a 2-inch spine. So that's going to mean we're going to have a fair bit left side to side. So what you could do, if you want, oops, is make this first measurement another 1/8 inch. Make this one a 1/2 inch and make this one a 1/2 inch. That'll give us 1/4 inch more. So this would go to 4 3/4. And then what you would have is 1/4 inch, 1 inch, I hope you can see this, 3/8, 1 inch, 3/8, 1 inch, and 1/4, or excuse me, 1/2, a half. So we have 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. If this is a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch, so let me make sure I did my math right. So this is 6/8, which is 3/4 inch, and a 1/2 is 1 inch, so that's 4 1/4. I did something wrong here. Did I do my math wrong? 3/8 and 3/8 is 3/4 inch. 1/2 is 1 inch. That's 1 3/4. Yeah, that's right. Heavens, I'll lose my mind there for a second. So that's 1 3/4, and then we're still going to have 3 inches. Plus 3 inches equals 4 3/4. Okay. Makes sense? All right. So this is, I think, what we're going to go ahead and do. So I need a piece 4.5 inches tall by 4 3/4 wide. All right, so let me cut that. Okay, here's our spine piece. It's 4 3/4 by 4 1/4. And now we are going to score it according to the diagram that we just made. So we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. Then we need 1/2 inch up and a 1/2 inch down. So we're going to score it at 1 inch. And then at 1.5 inches. Now we need to go 3/8 over, so that's 1 7/8. And now I need 1/2 inch, so that's 2 3/8. And then 2 7/8. And now I want to go 3/8, so that's 3 1/4. And now I need to go a 1/2, so that's 3 3/4. And a 1/2, it's just 4 1/4, and then I have a 1/2 left. Okay, so we have 1/2, a 1/2, a 1/2, 3/8, 1/2, 1/2, 3/8, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. All right, that to the side, that to the side, and so the first piece is flat. The next two pieces form a peak. So let us go ahead and form our peak. Okay. Just see that? Okay. Then the next piece is flat. That's our gusset. And then we're going to form another peak. Now we have 2 peaks. The next piece is flat. I'm going to form the last peak. Finish it well. All right. So now, let's see. We have 3 peaks for our 3 pages. All right. And what we're going to do now is we need to secure these peaks to each other with either score tape or art glitter glue. And I'm just going to go ahead and use art glitter glue. And we're just going to apply some to one side and pinch and burnish that well. Okay. All right. Just like that. Okay. Now, all right, I'm just cleaning up any. I tend to use too much glue. So now we're going to do the next one. Again, just some glue on one side. Pinch it together. Burnish it well. And then we're going to do the last one. Whoops. Okay. Turn it back. All right. Clean up any glue. And then you really want to get these burnished in both directions really well. Let me put the pin back in my glue. And flip these to both sides and burnish, burnish, burnish. Okay. Now, here is our binding that is going to go in the book, like that. Okay? Just like that. Now, let's put some tape on it. Just lay it as flat as you can. Make sure you've burnished out any weird folds. And I'm going to use my 1-inch score tape. Now, be careful here because the first fin is out the size longer. You don't want to accidentally attach this to that fin. Here's my scissors. I cleaned them just like I promised I would. Just like that. And then, let's see. I don't want to use another inch. Let's get some 3/8 inch for the other side. Let's fold that in so I can see what I'm doing. I can go right to the edge. And then what I'm going to do is burnish that. So I'm going to pull off this piece and I'm going to put, I could use a quarter or something in there, but I'm just going to put this one on here like that. And burnish. This is a Teflon bone folder, so it doesn't stick to the tape. And you can measure your exact width and your exact height, but I eyeball it, and I find more often than not it's fine. If I do mess it up, because I use score tape, I can get it off if I have to, using undo. So let's lift up our spines to a vertical position, our fins, I usually call them fins. And we are going to eyeball this. And sorry, I don't seem to have a very good, I'm getting a shadow however I do this. And I'm not putting it down tightly. I'm just laying it down very, very gently so that I can fiddle with it. And that looks pretty good. I think it's a little more to the top than the bottom, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. Okay, and then once you get it in the book, you'll find that these spines tend to stiffen up for some reason. Just go ahead and keep burnishing before you put your pages in. You want these nice and flexible. Just play with them, use your hands, use your bone folder. Just make sure that they move back and forth easily. Now, at this point, your book does not have a top or a bottom. So if you've put this spine in, mine looks pretty good actually, but if you've put it in a little wonky or a little lower or higher, just look at it and decide exactly how you want it. Decide what's going to be top and bottom. Okay? All right, I shall be back in a moment and we will put in the pages. While we were off camera, I did a couple of things, and you could and should probably do both of these before you put your spine in your book, but I completely forgot. Because we made our spine a little bit shorter than our page, you do not need to taper these, but I did. So I went ahead and just took my little small scissors, tapered these, and then applied score tape to each side of the fin. So that's probably easier to do outside the book than in. About the score tape. Our fins are 1/2 inch. However, you do not want any tape down in this lower half of the fin because we're going to leave the pages up slightly in order to make the pages flow nicely in the book, turn easily. So use 1/4 inch and then put it up here near the fold, not down in the base. Okay, so I did that. Now, let us take our pages. Actually, put a few things away. I'm getting a little cluttered here. You're going to need a pointy tool. I'm going to do my pages with a pocket page, the plain page, the one without a pocket in the middle, and then the pocket page, which if you watched my last series of videos is the exact same layout. This is a different shaped book, but the page layout is the same. I like it. So I'm using it again. So first off, always dry fit the page. Make sure it fits. And it does. So then we're going to pull off just one side of the score tape. You're going to center it on that fin, top to bottom, and leave about 1/16 of an inch away from the score mark on the bottom. Okay, lift it up, give it a good pinch, flip it over. Now remember, once you've put this page in, you have determined the top and bottom of your book, so make sure you know exactly how you want that to be. Take your pointy tool, reach in there and pull out the back of the tape and press. Okay, now that does not look terribly straight at all. Why is that? Okay, so here's an example of why we use score tape, so that we can get this out. I don't know why it's so crooked, because it seems to be straight on this fin. So I don't know if the fin is crooked or what, but we are going to fix that. I'm willing to put up with a few things, but I'm not going to put up with that. So you're going to take your undo, this stuff is magic, and just put it in there. Okay, and that will lift up the tape. Oops. Just don't worry about getting it places. It will dry and it will not damage your paper, and it will not damage the tape even most of the time. And we should be able to get that up. Okay, let's get that off. And let us see why that went in crooked like that. I don't know, but we're going to put it back on. It's still wet, so it's really not going to stick. This time I am going to be more careful to make sure that the page is straight. Okay, so there's an example of how to fix a mistake, how to see a mistake, like check for it. Don't just blindly go on. Check for it, make sure it's straight. Now this is not dry, so it's probably not going to stick, so I'm going to give that a second. Cap my undo. This stuff is nasty. It's probably 100% petroleum product, but it does the job. So I'll be right back. I'm just going to go wash my hands because I got some on my hands. Okay, let's see. That should be dry now. You can see it's still a little damp there, but that's okay. All right. My hands are wet. Okay. Now we're going to do the next page. Again, we're going to take one off. Whoops, I should have done a dry fit, which I didn't, but I'm sure it'll fit. All right, so this is the piece that does not have... Hey kitty, what you doing? Take the one that doesn't have a pocket. Oops, my kitty is sharing the chair with me. What you doing, boo-boo? Hi. Yo. Don't scratch the chair. Don't scratch the chair. She likes to be in everything. She's got a fascination with the sink. If I am washing dishes, she just wants to be there. Okay, there we go. All right. Apparently I'm not washing dishes, so it does not hold the same fascination for her. All right, did I get that? Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay. Checking to make sure it's straight. I'm gonna get our pokey tool in here. Something sharp, and pull that tape up. And make sure it's straight. Now remember, if things are off just slightly, nobody's going to notice, but you know, you want to make it as straight as you can. This time I will remember to dry fit. Make sure the pocket's on the bottom. Remember, you've got a top and bottom now, so be careful. Just like that. That looks pretty good. Fits good. All right. Again, you do not want to put this all the way down into the score of the spine, because then the page will not turn nicely. And you want your pages to turn. Okay. Now, again, we're going to reach in here with our sharp tool and see if we can't nudge that back of the score tape out. This one's stubborn. There we go. Generally, if you can just get, oops, I was just going to say if you can get some of it, it'll all come out, but then that one ripped on. There we go. All right. Out of the way. And put this, be careful when you're using, if you've got one of these, this is an EK Tools, I don't know what they call it, but this, pardon me, this end of it is extremely sharp. I once dropped this on the floor and it poked straight into my wood floor and stuck up. So imagine if that was your foot. So be careful, put those away. Or your pet or your child who's crawling around on the floor. Be very careful with that. All right, so now we have got our cover and all of our pages put together. Right, and that looks huge, I'm sure. Like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to fill all that space. But, you know, we left a good amount of space front and back. But we have, let's see, where am I? I have flowers. So I want to make sure I have enough room to embellish. I'm not sure what embellishments I'm going to use, but I want room. And we have it. Okay, I think that's enough for today, or at least for now, and I will be back and we are going to start. We need to make decisions in our design project of what we're actually going to put. Now these pages, some of them have pockets, so they're all set, but other pages we need to decide, and we're going to partially use our design paper to help us make those decisions. All right, so I will see you next time, and we're going to start designing our book. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Hit like and subscribe. Please ask any questions or make any comments down below, and I will do my best to answer. And I will see you next time. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video in the series. Thank you. Bye.